What career seems to attract an unlikely amount of idiots, despite of being intellectually demanding? My significant other is a choir teacher, and this year her music department received a lot of funding from a donation. The music department made a list of things they need. The school admins completely ignored their list and bought a ton of new music stands and smart boards for the band and choir rooms. Now they still don't have the equipment they need, but they have so many music stands they had to put all of their old stands in storage. Edit, I'm 100% this is just incompetence or arrogance. I imagine the admins think they know better than a couple of teachers. Our district's high school admin decided the best way to help low-income students was to put them all on academic disciplinary probation. They can't see how discriminatory this is, especially in a small school where half the students qualify for free lunch. So, if your student doesn't qualify for free lunch, they don't receive probation if they're failing classes or skipping school, etc. They get a pat and a do better, but the low-income students can't get off probation no matter their grades or attendance. They're usually former teachers who couldn't cut it in their first couple of years. So of course the reasonable move is to have them to manage teachers and school logistics/s. In practice, they usually just delegate their administrative responsibilities back onto the teachers. That is, when they aren't undermining teachers on disciplinary issues, and trying to enforce their latest half-baked initiative that creates extra work for the teachers while adding no organizational value. It's ass backwards in any organization that you have your SMEs answering to administrators, instead of the other way around. I've been working in special education for about a decade now, and I've found that it unfortunately attracts a lot of complete idiots. Schools are usually so desperate for support staff they'll pretty much hire anyway. Shit, I think the first district I worked for lucked out with me, as being at the very least average, and based on my track record over the last decade. But the head of special education reached out to me after finding my job post on Craigslist. Back when you put position wanted ads in newspapers, I got a phone call from the school in the little town near me saying they had an opening for a teacher. Forget that I didn't have a degree, had no teaching experience, didn't major in the subject, and didn't want to be a teacher. They had a position open, and a class with no teacher. It's a scramble every year of teachers jumping ship from one school to another, and hiring new teachers who shouldn't even be in the field. If you don't work for a major school district in a region, congrats. You get to take anyone who applies and can meet minimal acceptable standards. My dad worked as a teacher and then administrator an hour or so out of town, and everyone here is associated with one of the schools or can't afford to move districts. And holy fuck, the teachers he had to hire, and in some cases, couldn't get rid of, because small community school boards are, nepotistic, to put it lightly. The largest school district in this city has. This was 8 years ago when I last got an update, a wait list of 60,000 teaching applicants. Districts an hour south were begging people who had even an emergency teaching certificate, because they had vacant positions and needed warm bodies. Okay, I'm late, and this story is kinda long, but I have to tell it at some point. I work at an elementary school as a head custodian, very highly rated district and school. One morning this year, before kids arrived, I hear an announcement saying there was a black car with their lights on. I go to the office and recommend they announce the make/model/plates so they could make an actual helpful announcement. Since it's a school, and there are many inept people, especially that early in the morning, the person that reported the lights left on did not take the time to note any of those details. Besides, the car was black. Typical. This is the kind of thing I deal with every day. I asked which lot the car was in, and they had no idea. They did tell me who reported it though, and I doubt this person knows the difference between headlights and tires. So I went to the biggest lot, and who do I see walking into the building? The special ed assistant that reported the car with their lights on in the first place. I asked her where she saw the car with their lights on, and she said, and I shit you not, I don't remember, but I heard the announcement and wanted to make sure it wasn't mine. Yep, I've had the same UTI since the beginning of August. It's been a fight to get this thing treated and I'm so tired of it. 2 weeks ago, my OB finally prescribed me an antibiotic, but even after the 7-day treatment, it came back. So I called again, went in again to give a urine sample, waited another week for the results. Then the nurse calls me, asks me if I'm still in pain and blah blah blah. Of course I am. It's miserable at this point. Nurse, reading my file out loud to herself. ODADADA. Allergic to Augmentin and Keflex. Last period in August. Me, just sitting on the other line wondering why she didn't treat all this before calling. Nurse, okay, so you have a UTI. Me internally, no shit. Nurse, the medication didn't work because the type of bacteria you're struggling with is more of an intermediate type, so you need something stronger. I'm going to request the script for Augmentin. Do you have any allergies? Me, yes, to Augmentin, which is in my file. Nurse, oh okay. Well, I can set you up with some amoxicillin. Me, number, I'm allergic to Augmentin. I can't have anything in the penicillin group. Nurse, well, how bad was your reaction? If it wasn't that bad. Me, full body hives that lasted weeks. No, I won't take it even if you think my reaction wasn't bad enough. Nurse, well, how bad was your reaction to Keflex? Me, I took it while pregnant and got hives as well. Nurse, so then you'd refuse any cephalosporins then. Me, nurse, we might have to send you to the for, but I'd rather not do that. I'll just do some research here and call back when I've found something strong enough. Like what the fuck? I got a sulfa this time, we'll see if it works. But why did she not work that out on her own before calling me? She made herself look like an idiot, and I lost a little trust there. I used to work at a financial firm helping financial advisors manage their clients' accounts, and oh my god, some of them should not be allowed to handle other people's finances. There was one advisor who wanted to apply to trade options on some accounts even though he didn't even know the basics of options, and no matter how many times it was explained to him, he just didn't understand. He wanted to apply for the highest level of options. That could seriously screw up someone's finances if done improperly. We did not approve him. Another advisor couldn't figure out how to print a form from our website. He called us for help, insisting it was a problem on our end. Turns out he didn't have the printer plugged in, and then it didn't even have ink. We asked him after exhausting all other options because we gave him the benefit of the doubt that he would have already checked. Another advisor, while super nice, couldn't figure out how to attach a file to an email, and I had to walk him through creating bookmarks to important pages on our site. I'm sure back in the day he may have been great, but in this day and age where so much is done online and paper forms and documents are so much more susceptible to fraud, you just can't be computer illiterate. Another advisor kept getting mad at us even though he kept bringing in the client into his office, filling out the form wrong and having them sign it, and then sending it to us in a state we could not accept it. He was told several times what options on the form needed to be selected to do what they wanted, and instead of realizing he was doing something wrong, he just went off on us. But without the client's signature on a proper form, we legally couldn't do what he wanted. All basic reading comprehension would have solved his problem. I know a few people who are in finance because they grew up in wealthy families or married into money, and were really failures at whatever they had studied in college. I saw that one guy I went to high school with was now a financial advisor and could only think, shit, he's going to ruin someone, and a few years later, got wind of someone suing him in federal court for losing about $500,000 of their money. I know firsthand that finance truly attracts a huge spectrum, from those that should be designing rockets and conducting brain surgery to those that would be better off picking belly button lint. The scary part is that the belly button lint crew can put on a nice suit, drive a nice car, and talk the talk well enough to convince far too many for far too long. I've seen it my whole career. I'm sure there are dumb as bricks people out there, but most people have really stupid moments as well as brilliant moments, and are oscillating in between. Plus, there are brilliant numbers guys who can't string two coherent sentences together, well-spoken people who always mix up left and right, etc. Plus, learning is a process that includes a long period of total incompetence. Plus, if you have something like social anxiety, you are perfectly competent on your own, and seriously mentally deficient around other people. Plus, most people are just insecure enough to cling on to a memory of someone else doing something stupid. Plus, this is a fun thread and all, but there is no way even a third of these answers is a near accurate assessment of someone's intelligence, let alone their worth as a worker. Law. So many idiots running around as pseudo-intellectuals who went to law school because they were good at arguing. So many attorneys don't realize it's not about arguing and being an asshole for the sake of being an argumentative asshole. It's about achieving resolution under the rule of law. The biggest offenders are the oldest attorneys who have got away with shit practice for decades and now coast on their names while still practicing like it's 1982. Both my sister and mom are nurses. Both describe it as toxic. My mom was a healthcare assistant and used to get bullied by nurses at the hospital she worked at. The thought of my 55 years/old mom being bullied by 30 and 40-year-olds because of her weight used to really upset me. She moved to a different hospital closer to where they live. She loves it there. Due to the insecurities about her weight, she started cycling for fitness. 7 years later, she recently cycled 66 kilometers along the coast of Ireland. Everybody is proud of her. I worked at a place that offered Kaiser. One of their urgent care units was run by a crazy nurse. Once she was rinsing my ear due to impacted wax, but didn't purge the air out of the cylinder with each fill. So when it got to the air, the result was painfully loud. I pointed it out to her and without a word she did the same thing again. Another time I had gone in due to a rash around a wound that was worsening. They told me to just put Neosporin on it. I went back a few days later because it was still getting worse. That nurse came in mid-exam, looked at it, and says in an accusing tone, "Are you putting Neosporin on it?" "Yes." "As instruct you need to stop putting Neosporin on it cause you're probably allergic." She flounced out of the exam room, leaving myself and the nurse going WTF. Went and paid cash for a private practice doctor, who correctly diagnosed a secondary shingles infection at the wound site. I was early 30s at the time, when filling the RX. I'll never forget the way the cute friendly farm text demeanor changed like a switch when she saw my script for acyclovir, which I later realized is commonly used by genital herpes patients, still covered by Kaiser. I went to the urgent care again some months later, which was so large it was split into 2 semi-autonomous units. The receptionist asked if I wanted to go to Dr. So-and-so's side or Nurse Ratchet, to which I blurted out no. The receptionist's expression told me this was common. The boss paying for Kaiser had a heart attack and was in the hospital for a few days. He said the nurses greeted him the first morning with, "We didn't think you were going to make it through the night." I got the distinct impression they reached a point in his blood thinner maintenance where they decided he was too expensive. Long story short, he ended up with a stroke, which I correctly diagnosed over the phone when I found his smashed car at the shop one weekend and called his house. The staff at Kaiser collectively took like 3 inpatient days to conclude the same. Quick story. I used to work at a hospital and was part of a team that helped bariatric patients. Every now and then we would get a call about a patient death and would be charged with transporting the body to the morgue. We get a call and it is a larger person, very flabby. As we are waiting for the nurse to enter the room to assist, one of my teammates was casually just bumping his knee against the bed. This was causing the body to jiggle a bit. The nurse comes in and sees movement and screams the patient is still alive, and then runs out of the room to get more help. We were just dumbfounded and couldn't hold in our laughter when the charge nurse came running in. That nurse was scary dumb. Wasn't the last stupid thing she ever did. She ended up quitting nursing as she had quit teaching prior to that. Feel sorry for whatever career she is in now. As an imp with a sister who's an RN, I completely agree with this. Not only are a bunch of nurses anti-vaxxers, they are also the anti-vaxxers who spew a bunch of nonsense about how dangerous the vaccine is. Is the vaccine dangerous? It can be to some people, yes, but the shit they're spewing is that literally everyone who's vaccinated will die in 3 years, and my sister honestly believed that vaccinated people could stick a magnet to their arm because of mercury in the shot. I tried explaining to her how magnetism works and how mercury isn't ferrous nor magnetic, and if it was, it would cause an opposing magnetic push. But since she saw it on TikTok, it must be true, and rant. Perhaps it's country-specific, but at least in my country it's worth noting that nurses are seriously overworked and seriously underpaid. What might be a once-in-a-lifetime experience that brought you to hospital is probably something they've seen several times that day. A lot of them will have 5 or more patients on the go at once, all in similar conditions, and quite literally don't have the time for the personal interactions. I'm sure there's similar explanations for everything in this thread, but just thought it was important to say that nurses work so fucking hard and deserve to be treated better. Nurse is such a wide umbrella, and there's definitely a divide I see with overall intelligence and helpfulness in some specialty and higher educated nurses. Notice that the loud anti-vax nurses ... yet physicians and higher level of nurses are like DNPs, APRN or work in emergency medicine are nearly all vaxxed. Just in general, many jobs where power over someone is there to abuse, there's always bullies it attracts. Any job that sounds good in title attracts some narcissist personalities that give unsolicited weird medical advice when not at work. My one dumb relative told me to drink baking soda instead of my prescription as it's a better cure. No thanks. As a new nurse, can confirm, most of my preceptors, trainers, have been very condescending. I want to become a preceptor one day so I can support new nurses and know at least one person isn't going to treat them like they're incompetent. My brother is a doctor and he confirmed that I was correct in these situations I had where I was being treated like I was stupid by an experienced nurse. He was concerned about that nurse and happy that little new baby nurse me was right. They also try to treat doctors like they're stupid. Honey, they have years more of education than us. I think I'm going to listen to their expertise. Yes, sometimes there's things we question and should, but not as often as they do. I took some business classes when I was in engineering school. Figured it would come in handy. Boy, was that an eye-opener. You'd be working alongside people who couldn't understand the basic algebraic equations that tell you profit, loss or cost of goods sold and so forth. Math just wasn't their thing, and you'd want to take them by the shoulders and shake them awake, like, hey the boss, money is a numbers game. If you want to be good with money you'd better get good with numbers. No clue. Can't understand a simple equation and they're gonna hope Excel will bail them out when the time comes. But they suck at Excel too. Step 1, meetings. Step 3, get rich. Just amazingly dumb people. 100% lawyers. I've probably met more dumb lawyers than smart ones. Tons of lawyers have a Rain Man level of savant knowledge about one narrow area and cannot wipe their own ass with instructions. But more common are lawyers who are just barely competent enough to keep their license, shuffling along doing the bare minimum, totally useless in court, never respond to emails, etc. We are a book smart but common sense and social skills dumb profession. If I ever manage to get my side gigs more successful I'd happily leave. I stay in this career because I make a healthy salary with employer retirement contributions for basically high-level proofreading and improv skills. As an attorney, I came here to say this. I can definitely confirm a lot of us are special types of stupid. When I say special types of stupid, tons of us have the cognitive ability to survive law school and the bar exam but willingly fall into semi-functional alcoholism, drug abuse. Even at a super conservative Christian law school, you could literally watch the transition from occasional partier to alcoholic over the course of 3 years. Work hard, play harder mentality is real, but the play part is always alcohol and or cocaine. Total inability to manage money is more common than you'd think. Complete lack of self-awareness. These attorneys are generally assholes. No common sense. We tend to call these the true believers. Almost unanimously, The smartest attorneys I have met are totally lacking in the social skills department. These are the people who draft 100-page merger agreements but cannot hold a conversation about literally anything other than mergers.